Hello once again, my fellow Star Trek fans. I'd like to welcome you to another video, and this is about, what else? Star Trek. Now, I've shown you guys books in the past. I've shown you the illustrated guide to the NCC 1701 and the NCC 1701A, and I've shown you the illustrated guide to the NCC 1701D as well. And I've made references to the Starfleet Technical Manual that we've used for different videos to explain the functionality of certain devices. Well, I want to show you guys another book today. I want to show you Star Trek When No One Has Gone Before, A History in Pictures. And I was able to get this still in a plastic wrap. Absolutely love it. And to show you the age, it includes a sneak preview of Star Trek Voyager and a bonus Star Trek Generations bookmark. You can see the beautiful Enterprise D on the cover. Text by J.M. Dillard with an introduction by William Shatner, Captain Kirk himself. Showing you the back of the book. We've got that beautiful photograph of space. Let's see, this is the book 119-44500, and you can see the JC number is 550980, and it was 2867 at one time. So let's take it over to the desk where there's more light, and I'll show you guys what's in this fantastic book. Alright, so there's more light over here where we can check it out better. You know what, guys? What I want to show you guys first is this is off StarTrek.com, and you can see the toy company Tomy. And what I want to do is I want to show you the 1/350 scale Enterprise that I was showing you guys. They actually have it listed on StarTrek.com, so that's a good thing. Let's see if we can get a full picture. And they even included the update. With over 75 years of replica expertise, Tomy International is currently running a pre-order campaign for the limited edition Prestige Select Collectible Star Trek NCC 1701 USS Enterprise Replica. Order by July 24th of 2022. This high-quality, finely detailed 1/350 die-cast model weighing over 20 pounds is based on the 11-foot studio starship prop from Star Trek The Original Series, which was previously an exhibition at the Smithsonian's National Air and Space Museum. The replica, exquisitely crafted with over 250 meticulous details, will feature motorized revolving nacelles with lights, articulating and lit hangar deck, illuminated bridge, glowing impulse drive, and a separate primary and secondary hulls, bringing the Enterprise to life. So I thought it was pretty cool that this was on Star Trek. I never noticed this on StarTrek.com before. A special bonus was recently announced that every USS Enterprise replica will include Class F shuttlecrafts, the 2, the 7, and the 12, which will be the Copernicus, the Galileo, and the Columbus. And again, you got the different information on StarTrek.com, but I'm happy to see it on StarTrek.com. Let's see, are we able to enlarge the picture? No. But I just wanted to give you guys that little update. So if you want to go to StarTrek.com, you can look for it and you can find the links off of it. I'm happy that they're advertising it. So hopefully we can hit that 2,500 subscriber mark by the 24th of July. Okay, now on to the video topic. We have Star Trek When No One Has Gone Before, A History in Pictures. And I'm hoping we get a lot of pictures of the models. So let's open it up. Again, I had this book a long time ago. I don't know what happened to it. Over the years, it got lost. But I was able to get it. I was actually able to get it in the shrink wrap. It's like, talk about brand new. And I'll put the date up when this was released, but it's been around a while. So let's open up that shrink wrap. Look at that. All right. Look at that. Brand new. Well, it's considered vintage. And look at, we've got the bookmark that was promised, boldly to go. This is from Star Trek Generations. Star Trek Generations at a theater in your galaxy, November 18th, 1994. So we'll check the printing on this book. This is a good shot that this book is actually the first printing, so that would be pretty cool. Again, we can see the Enterprise on the cover. And looking at the inside of the book, $45 US, $60 in Canada. Space to Final Frontier. These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Her 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Of course, we all know that and love it. These words, first spoken on television on September 8th, 1966, gave the world its first glimpse of Gene Roddenberry's vision of the future. Since that day, nearly 30 years ago, we just passed the 50th anniversary a few years back. Star Trek has become the most incredible collaborative effort ever seen in motion pictures, television, and publishing. A phenomenon that has inspired 7 movies and 4 television series, and a line of best-selling books. Star Trek's popularity is astounding. Nearly 50% of the American public proudly proclaim themselves as Star Trek fans. At last, to celebrate Star Trek's heroic vision for humanity, Pocket Books is thrilled to present Star Trek's definitive history, Star Trek Where No One Has Gone Before, a history in pictures. A treasury of beautiful color photographs, this unique commemorative volume is inspired by the undying loyalty of Star Trek fans throughout the world. Their unprecedented loyalty can be attributed to the unique aspect of Star Trek's appeal, the characters, time, and again, audiences return to thrill the latest adventures of their favorite crew members. Whether it's Captain Kirk, Mr. Spock, the original series, or Star Trek The Next Generation's crew, or the inhabitants of Space Station Deep Space Nine, and it's continued on that. These memorable on-screen personalities have kept the Star Trek magic alive and keep fans coming back for more. Star Trek Where No One Has Gone Before covers the entire incredible Star Trek story from the original show's genesis to the aborted second season, the second series. In the late 70s, Star Trek's resurgence in the movies and 2 hit television shows, and one into the future with a special preview of Star Trek's latest incarnation, Star Trek Voyager. This ultimate deluxe collector's edition features personal accounts, anecdotes, and full-color photographs from the actors, fans, and backstage professionals who helped make the show so incredibly popular. The entertaining, informative text provides a behind-the-scenes glimpse of the world of Star Trek and includes essays by the master of science fiction and science fact, the late Dr. Isaac Asimov. The photo selection is the result of an exhaustive search of the best in Star Trek photography. Many of the images are from private collections and have never been published anywhere. Star Trek Where No One Has Gone Before was a book for all Star Trek fans, from the most loyal enthusiasts to the casual viewer, anyone who has marveled at the unparalleled adventures that continue to transport us all into the future. J.M. Dillard is the author of several best-selling Star Trek novels, including The Lost Years and the novelizations of Star Trek V, The Final Frontier, Star Trek IV, The Final Frontier, and Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Star Trek Deep Space Nine, emissary. She currently lives in a small California town with her husband, a bird dog, and a bird. And this is 1994. So let's take a look and see if this is a first publication, which in all likelihood it will be. Put our bookmark. Okay, so let's check this out. And already we've got a wonderful picture of Leonard Nimoy, Mr. Spock, and we've got the Deep Space Nine. This was relatively new at the time. Captain Sisko. Let's see. And oh my goodness, look at that. Absolutely fantastically gorgeous USS Enterprise refit from Star Trek the Motion Picture. Title page, and I'm not going to go through it page by page with you guys, but I do want to. Okay, here it is. Pocket books. My Spock is Dreamy, 1967. Let's see. This one would be this first pocket hardcover printing, November 1994. And it goes on to show some acknowledgments. Alright, let's go to the contents. We got the introduction. We got the Star Trek, the original series, which I'm really looking forward to. Then we got Star Trek, the in-between years. We got Part 3, the Star Trek films. We got Part 4, Star Trek, the Next Generation. Part 5, the Deep Space Nine. Part 6, Voyager. In the future, and then we got the appendix. So I'm dying to check this out. Let's go right to the regular, or the original series. You got a nice picture of Lieutenant Uhura, Dr. McCoy, Mr. Spock, and Captain Kirk. And the introduction is actually written by William Shatner. Okay, so it's not that long, but I want to share it with you guys. The introduction by William Shatner. In a precarious position because there is no room to sit in nature's slag heap in the Nevada desert, I'm squatting here to write the introduction for this book, and I'm filled with confusion of emotions. We are shooting the last scene in which Captain Kirk will ever appear in Star Trek, and it seems fitting that while I peer into that beautiful picture in the history of Star Trek, the sun is burning a hole in my head, and a volcanic rock cuts my fingers. Between the extraordinary physical discomfort of the surroundings and the rush of memories that flood through me, a balance between the physical and spiritual has been achieved. The desert wind turns the pages of the book without any help from me, just as Star Trek, the story will continue without any help from Captain James T. Kirk. Sorrow engulfs me as I say goodbye to this beloved character. This book tells some of the history of Star Trek. Some of the pictures may have been seen at times before, others may not have been ever. They all add up to pictorial chronology of a phenomenon that started in 1966 and is going full blast in 1994. With Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and now Star Trek Voyager. Looking at these photographs takes me back to the youth that was, to the camaraderie that I shared with the other cast members, the joy of the acting challenges, the playing of two characters at the same time, aging beyond recognition, being a Nazi Kirk, fighting a lizard, making love to some of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. This was tough for me, about how playing a woman in a man's body with a sense of exercise. From these to the jokes we played on each other, and the deaths and births that happened as time sped on. It is a fact that I deliberately don't keep photos of events that occur in my life, mostly because I think I don't want to see the harsh reality of the passage of time etched in the unforgiving stills. But here, forced by other hands to see the changes of some 30 years, I peer back into my history with a mixture of a lifetime of feelings. I enjoyed looking at this book for a multitude of reasons. I hope you will find your own reasons to look through this book and enjoy it too. William Shatner. Valley of Fire, June 3rd, 1994. And of course, Captain Kirk is teaming up with Captain Picard to fight Dr. Sorensen. And Captain Kirk ultimately dies in the Nexus. Not one of my favorite scenes. Alright, moving on. You can see the Deep Space Nine. Looks like we got Quark, Captain Sisko, Dax. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with the other two. Deep Space Nine it's okay, but it's not one of my favorites. Here we go. Part 1, the original series. We got Mr. Sulu, Lieutenant Uhura, Mr. Chekhov, Nurse Chapel, Dr. McCoy, Mr. Scott, Captain Kirk, and Mr. Spock, and they're all in a transporter room. So let's look at some of these fantastic photographs, and I'm just gonna love this. Look at that. The single-celled organism that Mr. Spock goes into and places a charge near the nucleus, and he ends up being okay. And then we have the Tholians that are trapping the Enterprise with the spinners. And here's the man who brought it to us. The man at the helm, Gene Roddenberry, the original USS Enterprise bridge set. What I principally take care for is I surrounded myself with a group of talented, creative individuals. From an art director to a costume wardrobe designer, the actors who took my skeletons of Spock and Kirk and really put flesh on a skeleton and made them work. Television sort of is the exception to the rule that committee never creates anything. The committee, in this case, does not leadership, but that is a group effort. Gene Roddenberry. And this is the first USS Enterprise set. The crew with Captain Christopher Pike, which was played by Jeffrey Hunter. The captain's chair and number 1, Marjo Barrett. Of course, she would go on to be Nurse Chapel and the voice of the computer, as well as Deanna Troy's mother. She would be at the helm, and you could see how the bridge over time has changed. This is, of course, the USS Enterprise under the command of Captain Christopher Pike. That's on there, I believe that was on their way to Talos 4. You can see a pretty cool picture of William Shatner. The guy who got the job, William Shatner, of the dashing young Captain James T. Kirk. You can see some of the other candidates at the time. Jack Lord, Lloyd Bridges. And you can see Jeffrey Hunter as Captain Christopher Pike in The Cage. And it goes on to about casting the captain. Again, I'm not going to go by page because I don't want this video to be 100 hours long. But let's show you some of the really, really cool photographs. You could see when he's in the menagerie, the cage, the Tholians, the Telosians are disciplining him for his refusal to eat. Captain Pike suffers in hell, courtesy of the Telosians' power of illusion. And this one is crewman Tyler, Mr. Spock, and Dr. Boyce search for their missing captain on the surface of Talos 4. Then we have Gary Mitchell, where no one has gone before. Lieutenant Commander Gary Mitchell, Gary Lockwood, and Dr. Elizabeth Denner, Sally Kellerman, the walking refrigerator unit, enjoy their newfound godhood and where no man has gone before. The contact lens is left, the actors half blind. You see Captain Kirk going to put an end to Gary Mitchell's reign of terror. A phaser rifle toting Kirk attempts to reason with Dr. Denner. And it's funny because there's a headstone in this episode where Gary Mitchell makes a grave ready for Captain Kirk, and it says James R. Kirk on the headstone. I've shown you this picture before. This wonderful picture of Leonard Nimoy as Mr. Spock, who is armed and ready for action in front of the shuttlecraft Galileo. These pictures are spectacular. Leonard Nimoy and Gene Roddenberry share a lighthearted moment on the set of the first pilot. We got a nice aerial view. Kirk and Captain's yeoman Andrea Drum on the bridge. I like that yeoman. Let's see, we got Mr. Scott now. The miracle worker, Montgomery Scott, James Doohan. Captain Kirk and Bones, Dr. McCoy. Of course, played by DeForest Kelley. Kirk and McCoy in an early publicity shot. You can see the two gentlemen, Leonard Nimoy and DeForest Kelley. The world's most popular alien and his beloved nemesis Bones McCoy is photographed by Gene Trindle in 1967. Alright, you can see Lieutenant Uhura with Mr. Spock. And this is from Charlie X. Kirk and Charlie X, played by Robert Walker Jr., prepare for a workout in the Enterprise gymnasium. Let's see, this one was, they're beaming down, and I think this one was titled Mary, with the children, where the disease of the planet that wiped out the population only affects the adults, and as some of the children start to get older, they get affected by the infection and die. The Enterprise landing party becomes an apparently deserted and amazingly Earth-like city in Miri. And over here we've got, I think this one is from the Man Trap. That's the salt vampire that was posing as Nancy. Oh, I can't remember her last name. Let's see if Captain Kirk comes dangerously close to a fatal encounter with Nancy Crater, played by Jean Ball, also known as the Salt Vampire in The Man Trap. The first Star Trek episode aired. So that's pretty cool piece of history. You guys remember that Salt Vampire, the way it looked. We got costumer Bill Thies adjusting one of his creations for Susan Oliver. You guys remember from The Cage or The Menagerie? She was one of the that Earth person that they saved from the crashed spacecraft. And this is the Thies titillation theory in action, clockwise from the writer's Lieutenant Carolyn Palamas, played by Leslie Parrish, whose seemingly precarious Greek gown and who mourns for Adonis. That was a pretty good episode. Of course, they meet Apollo. Angelique Pettyjohn as a drill thrall, Shauna. Now, who doesn't love Shauna? Gamesters of Triskelion. And Susan Oliver as the infamous Green Orion slave woman. Let's see if we can see pictures from Star Trek The Motion Picture. William Shatner in the center with extras Beau Trimble left and writer David Gerald right on the set of Star Trek The Motion Picture. Remember Spock's brain? I think that was season 3. If I only had a brain. Kirk confronts his witless first officer in Spock's brain. Oh, that's... I don't know if I would have put that. Alright, let's see. This is going to be important because this, again, we're going back. A lot has happened since then. Let me try to get the glare off for you guys. But this is actually television history right here, because this was the first interracial kiss. And of course, it's no big deal, but I guess back then it was. The infamous interracial kiss scene. Kirk teaches the hill people to fire guns in a Vietnam parable, A Private Little War, and that one's on the bottom. But this was one of them that really made television history. And then we have, I think this is This Side of Paradise. A love-smitten and happy Mr. Spock with Leela Kalami, Jill Ireland, from This Side of Paradise. And that's got one of the saddest endings of Star Trek. Captain Kirk, when you're leaving, says to Mr. Spock, "We haven't heard too much of you concerning Omicron Ceti 3. And Mr. Spock says he has very little to talk about, except for the first time in his life he was happy. And that's like kind of depressing. That's sad. And we've got, of course, this is a fantastic publicity shot that's going on through the ages. The Enterprise crew near the end of their 3-year television voyage. We got Mr. Spock, Mr. Chekhov, Dr. McCoy, Nurse Chapel, Captain Kirk, Lieutenant Uhura, Mr. Spock, and Mr. Sulu. Of course, that's iconic publicity shot. And now we got the in-between years. Let's see. Okay, let's see what this is all about. This is the fans at New York's Stater Hilton in 1976, which the Star Trek convention started to gain popularity and they wanted the show brought back. Star Trek fan Jonathan Harris in Vulcan makeup. Spock's science station and a mock-up of the bridge. Harris now makes a living in Star Trek convention promoter, running DreamWorks, the production group based in Boca Raton, Florida. The bridge mock-up was built by a young fan named Doug Drexler, who is now on the Star Trek Deep Space Nine art department staff. Alright, let's see. We got a picture of Gene Roddenberry and Isaac Asimov. I hope I'm not destroying his name. I probably am. I apologize. And you can see 22-month-old Amanda Kendrick of Eaton, Pennsylvania, had an alien encounter at the 1976 Star Trek convention. And you can see this is from the animated series. This is the animated Mr. Spock. And over here we have Grace Lee Whitney. Of course, she's Yeoman Rand. And fans enjoy each other's company at the convention in 1976. Again, this is pretty cool. We got another shot. I think the animated series is so underrated because the writing is really good. And you know what? It's almost like we get to see extra episodes of Star Trek. Because they only made 79. There was only 3 seasons. So when we watch this, because it's their voices, yes, it is animated, but it's almost like additional storylines. With the Guardian of Forever in the background, McCoy checks out the time-traveling Spock in yesteryear. And now we go into the films, and this is one of my favorite pictures of the Enterprise. Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, to me has just about the best versions of the filming models in any Star Trek movie. Maybe the Star Trek, the motion picture, they're my favorite because of the photography of the model. She just looks absolutely gorgeous. And she looks tangible. She doesn't look like a computer-generated graphic, which they do now. But you see she's wounded from her encounter with the USS Reliant. Okay, V'ger. This is from Star Trek The Motion Picture. When Mr. Spock leaves the Enterprise and he's going in to try to make contact. And we've got Admiral Kirk. Navigator Ilea, played by Persis Kambata, Commander Spock, Admiral Kirk, Captain Decker, played by Stephen Collins, and Sulu on the bridge. Of course, you may or may not know this, but Commander Decker, his father was actually Commodore Decker, the man that died in the shuttlecraft after his ship, the Constellation, was attacked by the Doomsday Machine. He went in with an overloaded shuttlecraft, and they did cause a power drop, and then they followed the Constellation in with an overload, and it ultimately destroyed the machine. And we've got Mr. Spock and Captain, well, he wasn't Captain Scott at the time. Spock and Scott get technical. And this is what would have been the Phase 2, the Vulcan that never was, David Gautreaux in full Vulcan regalia as Zahn. Of course, they were supposed to launch a television series that was going to be called Star Trek Phase 2, and instead they ended up launching Star Trek the Motion Picture. Persis Khambatta in the bald cap as the Dalton Ilea. And here's the absolutely spectacular, beautiful USS Enterprise. The refitted USS Enterprise NCC 1701. And if there's anything more beautiful on screen, I don't know what it is. And this is going through the films. Robert White, we got Star Trek II. Oh, this is nice. As the Enterprise approaches, what was the space station? Regular 7? Oh, the USS Enterprise approaches Space Station Regular 1. You can see it there in the distance as the Enterprise approaches. And of course, the scene where Mr. Spock places his Katra into Dr. McCoy, and he goes in to fix the area, but it's flooded with radiation and there's nothing that can be done at that point. And one of the saddest moments in Star Trek history is when Mr. Spock passes and they have his services aboard ship. Spock's burial tube is given a respectful send-off into space towards the Genesis planet and the next sequel. And they playing Amazing Grace on bagpipes as his casket is shot onto the newly formed Genesis planet. Our heroes land a Klingon bird of prey on the planet Vulcan. Of course, the Enterprise at that point is destroyed, and they have captured the Klingon bird of prey because the Klingon bird of prey, all of the personnel was sent over to the Enterprise to try to secure it. And we've got Admiral Bob, played by Harve Bennett himself in his cameo role from Star Trek V, The Final Frontier. And one of the more, well, to me, the most saddest scene ever in any Star Trek film is the destruction of our beloved Enterprise. The Enterprise sails to her fiery death. That's just, oh man, that's just hard to watch. I love the Enterprise D, and it's sad to see her go, but I mean, this is the Enterprise. This is my favorite ship, and oh my goodness, I hate it. When I saw that for the first time in the movies, man, I just sat there with tears running down my face. I'm like, they can't kill the Enterprise. Director Leonard Nimoy, his alter ego Spock, and that will be for Star Trek 3. And then the next one, we got the Probe, and that's in The Voyage Home, Star Trek 4. Of course, they go back in time with the Klingon ship, and they find humpback whales, and they bring them back because they're the only creatures that can respond to the Probe. And it was pretty amusing when they were trying to adjust to life in San Francisco, was it? Yep, the streets of San Francisco, Spock and Kirk take on the 20th century. Federation Council members in Star Trek IV. Look at the Andorian. Now let's see. And look at this. At the end of Star Trek IV, we're introduced to the absolutely beautiful NCC 1701A. Of course, this was the USS Yorktown, which was NCC 1717, but it was redesignated as the Enterprise A, specifically given to the demoted Admiral Captain Kirk and his crew. And let's see, again, I don't want to go through every single page. We're introduced to Cybok, but before that, you can see when they go to the planet where they're looking for Shakari. And they do encounter a life form that they perceive as God, but it ultimately is not. We're introduced to Cybok. Incidentally, in Star Trek Strange New Worlds, where we actually get a glimpse of Cybok as well. You can see Mr. Spock in his anti-gravity boots going up to see the captain while he's rock climbing. And when they're on the Enterprise A, and they're discussing with Mr. Spock the song Row, Row, Row Your Boat. Of course, Mr. Spock, Captain, life is not a dream. It's a song, Spock. And at the end of the movie, they all sing it. Well, Mr. Spock plays it. You can see a beautiful shot. The Enterprise under attack from General Chang and his cloaked bird of prey. Of course, General Chang had the prototype for the bird of prey that could fire while cloaked. McCoy fights to save Klingon Chancellor Gorkon's life while distraught Kirk and Chang look on. Of course, the Chancellor dies, and they see that as an excuse to attack the Enterprise or arrest Captain Kirk. So him and Dr. McCoy, and look at who they're represented by, Mr. Worf. So they're sent to rural Pente, which is a Klingon prison. The evil shapeshifter Martia morphs into the image of Captain Kirk. And that was funny when they're fighting. And Captain Kirk goes, "I can't believe I kissed you." And the shapeshifter image of Captain Kirk says, "It must have been your lifelong dream." Yeah, that was pretty amusing. And now we're on the Enterprise B, the launching. Chekhov, Kirk, and Scotty on a bridge of the USS Enterprise NCC 1701B. Of course, they're all retired. And that's when Captain Kirk fixes the ship, but he goes into the Nexus, and he's declared dead. And we have a ceremony on the Enterprise D, and they're actually promoting Mr. Worf. The crew of the USS Enterprise NCC 1701D on a 19th century sailing vessel. Look at that beautiful, beautiful ship. We just recently went to the Weta Galley Pirate Museum, and we also went by the Plymouth Rock nearby to see the Mayflower 2, and I'll be doing a video on both of those to show you guys, but those old ships are amazing. Hopefully soon we can see the USS Constitution, which is docked in Boston. Look at that beautiful shot of the Enterprise D. Of course, the shuttlecraft is leaving. And we're doing the Enterprise D from Eagle Moss, and it's a lot of work, and there's been a lot of videos complaining about it, but my love of the Enterprise, I guess we go through anything when you're in love, right? So, another beautiful illustration of the Enterprise D, Galaxy-class starship. Let's see. Again, I don't mean to be going through every single book, every single page. Looks like we have Hugh. Befriending the enemy. Picard addresses the young Borg known as Hugh in I, Borg. That was a great episode. And Picard consults his old Academy mentor, Boothby, Ray Walston, in the First Duty. And you guys may remember him from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That was Mr. Hand. And let's see. Looks like we have Riker as he's undercover and Who Watches the Watchers. Let's see. I was hoping they'd have more of the models. Looks like they have Ferengi Marauder. This ship always makes me think of those horseshoe crabs. And you can see the Romulan Warbird. Those are pretty cool ships. These things are huge too. And let's see, we got Data with Tasha Yar discussing the extent of his android abilities in The Naked Now. And Mr. Data informs Tasha that he's experienced in several relation techniques, and that's when she grabs him and pulls him into the quarters. So, let's see, we've got, looks like Mr. Worf and the Klingon Council and Sins of the Father. That was a great episode. I love all episodes involving the Klingons. And in another episode, Mr. Worf gets injured, and he's loses feeling and the ability to walk, so he's trying to ask his son to kill him. A crippled Worf tries to explain his desire to die to his son Alexander in ethics. Of course, that doesn't happen, and he ends up recovering. The Klingon Council and Redemption, Part 1. And of course, when a Klingon warrior dies, they all scream to warn that the afterlife that a warrior is coming. Worf and two renegade Klingons, Chorus and Kamel, perform the Klingon death ritual in Heart of Glory. Alright, let's see, we got a picture of the set. This one, Relics, this one was really nice. Captain Scott, he's on the surface of a Dyson sphere, and he's locked in a transporter pattern, and they bring him back. Partial reconstruction of the original bridge set. Of course, Mr. Scott goes into the holodeck for the Constitution class. And you can see Scotty prepares to raise his glass in a pignant toast to the original Enterprise crew. Actor James Doohan and writer Ronald B. Moore. Deep Space Nine in all its glory. So for the most part, this book is Star Trek, the original series, which is fine by me. We got a little bit of Deep Space Nine, and we got the introduction of Voyager. So let's see what they have. Of course, Voyager is new. Voyager, Phase 3, a more detailed design drawings of the USS Voyager by Rick Sternbach. And of course, that's not how she ends up looking. But again, this was in the brand new phases. And we've got the index, the appendix, and let's see if there's anything on the book. Nope. With that lovely black covering. So, my friends, this is Star Trek. You can see the beautiful Enterprise on it. This is what no one has gone before. History in pictures. And again, I didn't want this video to last forever, but I did want to show you guys some of my favorite pictures of my favorite series, the original series. But this is from 1994, my friends, and at the time they had just come out with Star Trek Generations, and Star Trek Voyager was just about to come out. It was still in the stages of being prepared for final release. And Star Trek Deep Space Nine was relatively new. We were into Star Trek the Motion Picture, and there were a few movies from our beloved Star Trek. The movie Generations is where the original Enterprise crew kind of passes the torch to the next generation. But anyway, my friends, we have this book, and we'll use this as reference as well in the future. And again, I love going through these books with you guys. I hope you enjoy watching as much as I enjoy showing you the books. So until my next videos, my friend, take care, and I'll talk to you soon.